Here's the truth about a slip and fall case. The value of your slip and fall depends on much more than where you fell or how bad the bruise looks. I'm Bobby Zirkin. I've handled personal injury cases across Maryland for over 25 years, and I'd helped clients recover millions in verdicts and settlements. In this video, I'll show you the real factors that decide how much money you could walk away with and what mistakes cost you thousands, so that you know what your case is really worth and don't get lowballed when it matters most for your slip and fall case. Understanding what makes up your case value. Let's get right into what you came here for. How much can your slip and fall case be worth if it happened here in our state of Maryland? The answer depends on several different factors. I want to walk you through each of these step by step so that by the end of this video, you'll have a clear idea which details really impact how much money you might receive or not receive after a slip and fall. Number one, the severity of your injuries. The most important part of any slip and fall case in Maryland, any tort case in Maryland, is the seriousness of your injuries. That's going to be the first thing that any insurance company, lawyer, judge, or jury will look at. Let's look at a few examples. Imagine you slip at your local grocery store. You break your arm and miss some weeks of work. You get medical bills, but you recover after a month or two. Now imagine you slip down the same aisle, but this time you hit your head, suffer a traumatic brain injury or TBI, and need months of rehab. Maybe you can't return to your old job at all. These two cases are worth very different amounts. The more serious and long-lasting your injuries, the higher your case value because you're dealing with more medical bills, more lost income, more pain, more suffering, and more life changes. In Maryland, your damages should certainly cover your medical expenses, both what you've already paid and what you're expected to pay in the future. Save everything: hospital bills, therapy receipts, medication costs, even parking fees for doctor's appointments. It all adds up. So when you ask, how much is my case worth? The first place we look at is how badly were you hurt and how has your life changed since the fall? The cost of your medical treatment. Your medical expenses are the nuts and bolts of your slip and fall case value. Maryland law says that you're entitled to be made whole, which means getting paid back for every dollar you had to spend because you got hurt, and any money you'll need for future care. Let's break that down. Emergency care and hospital stays. These are the big ticket items. If an ambulance took you, if you stayed overnight in the hospital, or if you needed surgery, these bills matter a lot to your case. Ongoing care, physical therapy, follow-up visits, and medication. Maybe you need a cane, a wheelchair, or make changes to your home. Future medical expenses. This is huge. If your doctor says that you will need care for months or even years, those estimated costs can be added to your claim. Maryland courts will accept an expert's projection of your future medical costs if supported by evidence. Keep in mind, if insurance or Medicaid covered some of your bills, certain rules require some of your settlement go back to them, but your case value is based on the total cost, not just what you paid out of pocket. Lost wages and how your earnings are affected. This is a big one people often overlook. If your injury kept you away from your job, even for a week or two, you can claim these lost wages. And if your injuries mean that you can't do your old job or need to work fewer hours, you might be able to claim less earning capacity or loss of earning capacity, which means that the money you'll lose in the future because of your injury is a compensable damage. Let's give an example. If you're a construction worker and you break your leg, you can't work for several months. All of those missed paychecks are part of your claim. If you worked overtime and now you can't, that counts too. If you're hurt so badly you can never go back to your old line of work, your case value goes way up because you need to be compensated for all of those missing years of higher income. Maryland is pretty strict about documentation, so get notes from your employer, get pay stubs, get doctor's letters that put you off from your work, whatever backs up your lost wage claim. Pain, suffering, and life impact. Some damages are easy to count, like medical bills. Others, like your pain and the loss of things that you enjoy, are much harder to put a dollar sign on, but they're just as real. Maryland law recognizes this. You may hear lawyers talk about pain and suffering. That means money for what you went through physically and emotionally, the pain of the injury, the stress, the trouble sleeping, the missed family events, even things like anxiety or embarrassment caused by scars. Here's how Maryland handles it. There's a limit called a cap on how much you can collect for pain and suffering. As of 2025, the pain and suffering cap in Maryland is a little bit over $950,000, and it adjusts each year, but it is still a real limit. So even if a jury thinks your suffering is worth $1 million, the judge will reduce it to that maximum allowed by law. Cases are stronger when you can describe in detail what your life was like before and after the slip and fall. For example, before I was the coach of my daughter's soccer team, now I can't even walk without pain. Keep a daily journal if you can. Pain and suffering are often worth several times your medical bills, but they're always judged on a case-by-case basis. It is up to the judge or jury in your case. Who's at fault and how that affects your case? This one's unique in Maryland and can make or break your case. Maryland follows a very strict rule called contributory negligence. That means if you were even a tiny bit at fault for your own injury, you might not be able to collect anything at all, even if the store or property owner was mostly to blame. Let's look at an example. Suppose you slipped on a wet floor in a restaurant, but the restaurant had a huge yellow "Caution Wet Floor" sign up, and you were texting while walking and didn't see it. If a judge decides that you were even 1% responsible, Maryland law says that you cannot recover damages based on contributory negligence. On the other hand, if the floor was wet and there was no sign or the hazard was hidden and you were careful, you may have a strong case. This is why it's so important to take photos, get witness statements, and write down everything you remember as soon as possible after your fall. The property owner's insurance company will always look for a reason to blame you. That's their job. Don't give them any more ammunition than you have to. Insurance policies that may apply. Most slip and fall cases in Maryland are paid by insurance, usually the property owner's liability insurance. Sometimes businesses have higher coverage than homeowners. The amount of available insurance can limit how much you can actually recover, even if your injuries are severe. For example, if you fall at a large chain store, their insurance policy might cover millions of dollars of damages. But if you fall on someone's private walkway, their homeowner's insurance policy might cap out at $100,000 or $300,000. Sometimes you can collect from multiple policies, like if you're injured at work or in an apartment building. Knowing who owns the property and what kind of insurance they have is critical. It often decides how long your case takes and how much you can realistically expect to collect. Evidence and how you prove your case. You might have $1 million injury, but if you don't have proof of what happened and how bad it was, your case won't be worth nearly as much. In Maryland, evidence is everything. Here's what matters most. Take photos and videos, collect them, of where you fell, what caused the fall, and your injuries. Incident reports. Always ask the property owner or manager to write up an official report. Witnesses, names, phone numbers, anything to show what happened. Medical records. Get copies of reports, all reports, scans, and doctor's notes. The better your evidence, the higher the insurance company will value the claim, and the more likely you are to get a fair settlement. Real Maryland slip and fall case examples. Let me share a real example. A client in Baltimore County slipped on an unmarked puddle in a grocery store. She broke her hip, needed 2 surgeries, and missed 6 months of work. Medical bills topped $85,000. Her wage loss was over $20,000. The insurance company first offered $40,000, blaming her shoes and saying that she was rushing. With pictures, witness statements, and solid doctor's letters, we pushed back. The case settled for $450,000 because we proved the store was at fault and documented every loss. But if she'd been distracted, or if the puddle had a warning sign, her case might have been worth nothing. That's Maryland's strict rule and why having a good lawyer really matters in these cases. How settlements and lawsuits usually work in Maryland. Most slip and fall cases in Maryland settle before trial. Not always. Insurance companies want to pay as little as possible, but they'll pay more if they see that you're prepared and willing to go to court. That's why we build every case as if it's going to see a judge or jury, even though most never do. If you settle, you usually get your money faster, but you can't ask for more later. If you go to trial, it takes longer, but sometimes the jury awards much more than the insurance company ever offered. Don't wait too long. Maryland law sets strict deadlines. Usually you have 3 years from the day that you got hurt to file a claim. If you wait longer, you lose your right no matter how strong your case is. For government property, you only have 1 year to notify them, so don't delay. So how much is your slip and fall case worth in Maryland? It depends on your injuries, your medical bills, your missed work, your pain, who was truly at fault, how much insurance is available, and how strong your evidence is. Every detail counts, and so that is why it is really important to get an experienced Maryland personal injury attorney for your case. If you want to know how to make the most of your claim and avoid common traps, you don't want to miss my next video, how to win your personal injury lawsuit in just 1 day. I'll break the exact steps down that you need to take right now to protect your rights and get every dollar that you deserve. See you right there.